Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Asphalian's webinar From Theory to Reality. What are the real challenges and opportunities when setting up your post-marketing surveillance system? Before starting, a couple of things to take into consideration. This webinar will last for 30 minutes. In case you have any questions, please submit them in the chat and we will reply them by email at a later stage. We will also send you the presentation per email as well as the link to the recording shortly. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today from the Pharmacovigilance Unit, Laura Eder, Drug Safety Associate Director. Laura has a PhD in biomedical research, as well as a background in biology and biochemistry, and a master's degree in health administration. She holds solid experience in pharmacovigilance audits, medical writing, and in overall pharmacovigilance activities. In today's webinar, she will take you through the complex world of PMS and post-market clinical follow-up, how to overcome challenges, and how to seize the opportunities that PMS presents. Our colleague Alicia will talk briefly about Asphalian Safety Services. Alicia?
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Lydia. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar that, as you all know, our expert, Laura Eder, will be hosting. And this webinar marks the end of our PV month. During the month of February, we at Asphalion have focused on understanding the importance of conducting essential pharmacovigilance activities accurately. Throughout the month, we have dedicated 1 week to one essential safety activity at different stages of product lifecycle, with the aim to share valuable content with you. We really hope you have enjoyed our publications. And now, before turning over to Laura, I would like to take advantage of this opportunity to briefly introduce our work in Asphalion. As you may know, Asphalion is a leading regulatory, scientific, and safety consultancy firm with the aim to help pharmaceutical and biotechnological companies in their projects through whole product lifecycle, evaluating them as if they were our projects. Regarding pharmacovigilance activities, we are a one-stop shop, providing expert support through whole product lifecycle, integrated in global context. Asphalion started providing pharmacovigilance services back in 2007, and since then, we have been updating our portfolio according to all new requirements established from safety regulations. As you can see in this slide, we can cover all your safety needs for all types of products, not only drugs, but also medical devices and veterinary products, through all stages of development. Currently, we count on a team of 25 people who are working with passion in more than 120 projects, some of them long-lasting collaborations. And now, for medical devices specifically, we can provide global support. We are proud to say that we have wide experience implementing vigilance systems, including definition of post-marketing surveillance plans according to the new regulations. Moreover, as you can see in this slide, we can support you with literature, social media screening, incident management, trend analysis, SOP elaboration, signal detection, among other activities. For some of these activities, I would like to highlight that we have implemented digital tools, thereby staying at the forefront of implementing such tools in key pharmacovigilance and safety activities. And now I will hand over to my colleague Laura, who will surely help us understand from a practical perspective and thanks to her experience, the challenges and opportunities when setting up a PMS system. So go ahead, Laura.
Thank you, Alicia. Thank you, Alicia, and welcome everybody to this webinar about the real challenges and opportunities when setting up your PMS system. So let's start. Let's start talking about what is a PMS system. Well, a PMS system is the continuous evaluation of the benefits-risk balance of the medical devices. The evaluation of the benefits-risk balance starts with the risk management process. This means the product risk classification, the benefit risk determination, and also the post-marketing surveillance plan. Then we continue with the life cycle step, starting with the clinical evidence generation. We will see later on, but we can say that clinical evidence allows us to know whether the device is safe and whether it achieves the intended clinical benefits. For this, we need to compile information from different sources, such as human clinical data, literature, characteristics of the population using the device, among others. In addition, other important sources of information is information retrieved from post-marketing surveillance, such as complaints, adverse events, serious incidents, PMCF, undesirable side effects, feedback from users, distributors, importers. Then we use all this information for the aggregate quality data generation, as you can see here. A very, very important part in the evaluation of the benefits-risk balance. And what is this? It is the complaints trend analysis, the trends reports, the PCURs, the PMCF reports, among others. Besides, it's worth mentioning that there are other actions that also contribute to the product risk benefits that are not part of the continuous cycle, but are part when necessary. On one hand, we have the escalation of safety signals for medical devices. We can say that the escalation of safety signals is a critical step to ensure the continuous monitoring and improvement of safety profile of the devices, because safety signals refers to information that suggests a new adverse event associated with the medical device. And therefore, the escalation process involves assessing and responding to these signals appropriately. In addition, we can also have, for instance, the field safety corrective actions that are actions to take to prevent or reduce the risks of a serious incident in relation to a device available on the market, and also the field safety notice, which are the consequent communication to users or customers in relation to this field safety corrective action. Finally, we can talk also about non-conformities that can be detected and the consequent corrective and preventive actions to take. Well, before going deeper in the benefit risk analysis, I want to talk a little bit about the concept of clinical evidence as a key point in the assessment. Well, under the medical device regulation, clinical evidence refers to the data and information regarding the safety and performance of the medical device that is generated through clinical investigation or collected from other relevant sources. As you know, the medical device regulation, which came into effect in May 2021, imposes stricter requirements on the demonstration of safety and performance of the medical devices, emphasizing the importance of robust clinical evidence. In fact, as you can see here, clinical data is part of the CE mark, and manufacturers are required to compile the clinical evidence into a clinical evaluation report. The clinical evaluation record is out of the scope of this webinar, but I want to say that the clinical evaluation report is a comprehensive document that summarizes the clinical evaluation process and demonstrates the conformity of the device with the applicable requirements. I must say that one important point here, and of course a real challenge, is that the clinical evidence must be scientifically valid, meaning that it will be generated using appropriate research methodologies, statistical analysis, and ethical consideration. In addition, clinical evidence may be delivered from a variety of sources, including literature, clinical experience, and of course, post-marketing surveillance. So now, regarding the benefit risk assessment of medical devices, we can say that the benefit risk assessment involves evaluating the positive outcomes, the benefits, and the potential risks associated with the use of the particular medical device. This assessment is crucial for ensuring that the benefits of a device outweigh its risk. As you can see here in this slide, this is very important, a brief benefit risk assessment that do not consider all available evidence are not acceptable. So, which are the key components for a good benefit risk analysis? Well, the first challenge is to identify the clinical benefits. As you know, the clinical benefits means the positive impact of a device related to its functions. And here we can differentiate three types: therapeutic, diagnostic, and patient benefits. Therapeutic benefits, here we focus on device intended therapeutic effects. And we have to consider factors such as efficacy, improvement in patient outcomes, and overall positive impact on health. Regarding diagnostic benefits, here we must evaluate the accuracy of diagnostic devices and consider how well the device aids in disease detection, monitoring, or decision-making. And finally, regarding patient benefits, here we include patient-reported outcomes and improvement in quality of life. And here we have to consider factors such as pain reduction, enhanced mobility, and patient satisfaction. The another challenge is to identify the clinical risks. And here we can also differentiate 3 types: safety risks, operational risks, and user competency. Safety risks. Here we are talking about the potential adverse events associated with the device. These include immediate risks during the use and any potential long-term consequence. Regarding operational risks, they are risks related to device misuse, malfunction, or errors in operation. And regarding user competency, we also have to analyze the complexity of the device use and potential risks that are related to the user training, experience, and understanding. It is important to take into account that user-related errors can contribute to adverse events. So let's focus on safety objectives. Well, safety objectives in the context of medical devices refers to the goals and requirements set to ensure the safe and effective use of the device throughout its life cycle. Here, this is very important. Safety objectives will be quantified according to magnitude, probability, and duration. Regarding magnitude, this will be measurable and patient group specific. Probability, very important. Statements to reflect general population may not be appropriate. Why? Because in case of probability, this must be based on patient population. And duration, we must think in quantity. Also, we have to have in mind that risk management activities plays a crucial role in establishing and achieving the safety objectives, and the outcomes of risk management activities serves as important inputs for the clinical evaluation process. And the clinical evaluation activities provide information about how risks are managed and how safety objectives are achieved. In fact, we have to use ongoing post-marketing surveillance data to monitor and update the risk management plan, and also to incorporate real-world data into the clinical evaluation, ensuring that the safety objectives remain relevant over the time. In this picture, and in line with this introduction, in line with what we have been talking before, you can see here the summary of the key interactions between the post-marketing surveillance system and other systems under the medical device regulation. And now we are going to go deeper in the next slide. Well, the PMS system, as you know, consists of plans and reports, which are very, very connecting between them and with other systems. For instance, the PMS plan incorporates, as I said before, risk management consideration, information on known and potential risks. PMS data analyzed in a PSUR contribute to the clinical evaluation report, ensuring that the assessment on clinical benefits and risks is based on comprehensive and updated information. What happened with the instruction for use with the IFU? Well, as new information becomes available through the post-marketing surveillance system, technical documentation should be revised to reflect the current understanding of the device safety and performance. And one very important point that we cannot forget is the post-marketing clinical follow-up. The post-marketing clinical follow-up is a component of the post-marketing surveillance. PMS plan may include post-marketing clinical follow-ups activities to gather additional clinical evidence and assess the ongoing safety and performance on the device. And something very important, due to this big interaction, it is very important to pay attention to consistency and coherence between all the documents. So, in view of all of this, what is the real challenge? What is the notified body looking for? Well, to answer this, there are some questions that we have to ask ourselves in order to meet the expectations and the requirements of the notified body. There are some examples. Does the data cover all internet uses? Does our data consider all indication? Does the data cover all the device variants? Does the data cover all lifetime of the device? Cover all residual risks? Do you review your similars? Do you consider the records about your device and similars? Do you evaluate the benefit risks for your device? And something very important that I'm going to repeat during the whole webinar is, do you include the PMCF? Because you never can exclude it. Here, I want to show you, based on our experience, a common notified body findings that may arise. There are some associated to specific internet uses. Manufacturers often formulate the intended use in a general and less specific way. There are no limitation of indication. There are no limitations on target population. There are no limitations on target users. Also, other common issue is that there is no correlation. There is no correlation between risk management and clinical risk. There is no feedback between clinical evaluation and post-marketing surveillance and risk management. There is a failure to refer similar devices. And also, we have seen that there are some document pitfalls regarding the presentation of evidence. There is a lack of detailed analysis, tabulation, reference. There is not clear link between conclusion, inconsistency across documentation, the post-marketing surveillance data that has not been incorporated into the clinical evaluation report. The clinical evaluation plan does not consider the clinical development plan. Lifetime is not considered adequately supported by evidence. Don't forget that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. So, after this introduction, let's focus on PMS system, in particular in PMS and PMCS plans and PSURs. Let's start with the PMS plan. Well, as you know, for each device, manufacturers shall plan, establish, document, implement, maintain, and update a post-marketing surveillance plan system, in a manner that is proportionate to the risk class and appropriate for the type of device. A PMS plan is part of the technical documentation of the device. So, how to establish? How can we establish a PMS plan? Well, there are some things that we need to have in mind and to take into account, and is that the PMS plan must be established considering the risk class, the type of the medical device, and must be specific for the product in question. We need to know which is our risk class. As you know, there are 4 risk classes, from low risk to high risk. We need to think about the type of product that we have, if we have implantable devices or we have non-implantable devices. And also we need to think about the type of certification that we have. Do we have legacy devices, which are devices that are in place on the market under the MDD certification? So we have post-commercialization data available. But we are talking about MDR devices that are placed on the market under MDR certification, and maybe there is not available post-marketing data. Looking at 3 key points, we can conclude that, for instance, class 3 implantable products have higher expectation regarding the intensity of the PMS activities. So we cannot standardize the PMS activities. Content of the PMS plan. Here I show you the content of the PMS plan. We are not going to explain in detail all of this, but I would like to highlight that the PMS plan must include all the PMS activities that we are going to carry out, such as the management of incident, the trends reports, the literature, the customer surveys, among others. In addition, I want to highlight something that for me is very important, is that in a PMS plan, we have to include a detailed description of each activity. we must include the procedure and the methods that we are going to follow to obtain the data. And we cannot forget the frequency of review. This must be according to the safety profile of the medical device. For instance, in the management of incidents, we have to describe how we are going to evaluate the incident, the serious one and the non-serious one, how we are going to perform the seriousness and the causality assessment, and so on. Here there are more activities to be included in a PMS plan, such as the management of medical information, the review of safety alerts, the PCURs, and of course, as I mentioned before, the post-marketing clinical follow-up. So, in view of all of this, from a practical point of view, and based on our experience, which are the non-conformities, the common non-conformities found in a PMS plan? First of all, sometimes the PMS plan does not include all required sections. I mentioned this before, but this is very important. Sometimes the PMS plan does not refer to the PMCF plan, or it does not justify not performing a PMCF. This means that if we decide not to perform PMCF activities, we must add a good justification. Sometimes we have seen that the PMS plan does not include a justification of each plan method or activity or frequency of data collected. I said before that it's very important to adapt the PMS plan according to the safety profile of the medical device. Also, we have seen that the PMS plan sometimes does not establish in sufficient detail the methods that are expected to collect the data, or some specific methods are missing, for instance, related to non-serious incidents, because sometimes we focus on how to analyze serious incidents, but non-serious incidents are also very important for characterize the safety profile of our medical devices. Also, sometimes the PMS plan does not describe a method for evaluating the data collected. For example, the appropriate indicators of threshold values to use in the ongoing assessment of the benefit risks. Also, sometimes the PMS plan does not indicate how signals, we talk about signals at the beginning of the webinar, or significant changes in trend are detected. And finally, and this is very important, we have seen that sometimes there is not clear forecast of the schedule of when the successive reports will be generated. We need a calendar for all of our activities. Okay, let's move to the PMCF plan. Well, as you know, the medical device regulation considers that the PMCF is a continuous process that updates the clinical evaluation and that shall be addressed in the manufacturer post-marketing surveillance plan. There is a very useful guideline, which is the MDCE 2027, and the main objective of this guideline is to guide manufacturers in complying with the requirements of the MDR and to harmonize and complete presentation of post-marketing clinical data. This is very important. A post-marketing clinical follow-up plan so specify the methods and procedures set up by the manufacturer to proactively collect and evaluate clinical data from the use of the medical device. So, which are the objectives of a PMCF plan? Well, the objectives are to confirm the safe performance of the device throughout its expected lifetime, to identify previously unknown side effects and monitor the identified side effects and contraindication, to identify and analyze emergent risks, to ensure the continued acceptability of the benefits-risk ratio, and to identify possible systemic misuse or off-label uses of the device. Again, the PMS plan shall be part of the post-marketing surveillance plan. And the findings of the PMCF shall be analyzed and documented in an evaluation report. So, what we have to include in a PMCF plan? We have to include, well, a manufacturer device registry or national public registries with clinical data on the device and on similar devices, identifying the expected quantity and quality of data to gather and the search protocols to be adopted. Also, the screening of literature and other sources, the PMCF studies that we plan to do, including the design, the sample size, the endpoints, and the inclusion and exclusion criteria. Also, the PMCF plan must include the planned real-world evidence analysis, including the design, the sample size, the endpoints, and the analysis of the population. Also, we have to include the surveys that we plan to perform in order to collect information about the use of the concerned medical device. According to our experience, here I want to summarize also the common non-conformities found in a PMCF plan. Sometimes we have seen that the PMCF plans that not reflect the need to carry out the described PMCF activities. Sometimes there are not appropriate methods or effective process to evaluate the data collected. There should be, again, consistency between the clinical evaluation report, the post-marketing surveillance plan, and the post-marketing clinical follow-ups, and sometimes there is not this consistency. It's very important to include, to attach to the PMCF plan a template of the surveys to be distributed to healthcare professionals, because in that way, if we don't attach this template, the notified body cannot assess what kind of clinical data we are going to collect. And it's very useful to use a PMCF plan template, and we should follow the same structure when drafting the PMCF plan. So let's move to the last section of this webinar, which is the PSURs. Well, as you know, the PSUR has been introduced in Article 86 of the Medical Device Regulation for medical device class 2A, 2B, and 2.3. As you know, class 1 it needs just a PMS report. Here I also show you a guideline that is known and is very useful, which is the MDCG 2022-21. And the main objective of this guideline is to assist the manufacturers to implement the legal requirements laid down in this regulation and achieve a more consistent, standardized, and systemic review of all the post-marketing surveillance data. So when preparing a PSUR, the first thing we have to ask ourselves is what its objectives are, what are we going to evaluate and capture in a PSUR. First of all, in a PSUR, we are going to identify and evaluate changes of the benefit-risk profile. The PSUR is a summary of the results and conclusions of the analysis of the PMS data and allow us to identify any safety or performance concerns through both reactive and proactive PMS data collection. And what happens if there is evidence of an adverse change to the benefit-risk profile of the medical device? This information, again, should be evaluated and considered also in line with the clinical evaluation and the risk management. Other objective that we must have in mind for the PSUR is that the PSUR is a tool to provide information about corrective action and preventive action that are related to devices already placed on the EU market, issues that may have a direct impact on the product safety, performance, or quality, and any action related to a voluntary and non-temporary suspension of marketing of the device by the manufacturer, which is not related to a common decision, a commercial decision, and evaluation of benefits and risks identified through the post-marketing activities. So which are the devices that are in the scope of the PSUR? Of course, the devices which are compliant with the medical device regulation. These are class A, 2A, 2B, and class 3. Also, the custom-made devices, which are devices intended for a sole use of a particular patient exclusively to meet their individual condition and needs. Also, the medical MDR devices no longer certified, but continue to be used in the market unless the manufacturer has ceased the business. Here, please note that the notified body will not assess these PSURs, but are in the scope of the PSURs, and also the Annex 16 devices. what happened with devices that are still compliant with the MDD or AIMDD? In this case, devices in the scope of PSURs are class 2A, 2B, and class 3 devices with a valid certificate, and also the custom-made legacy devices. Just like I have a quick reminder, the issuance timelines for the PSURs in medical devices. As you know, class 2A medical devices, the frequency for elaboration of the PSUR is 2 years, for class 2B 1 year, and class 3 1 year. The difference between implantable devices and non-implantable devices is that the implantable devices must be submitted to IRDAMED and the other ones not. One question that arises when preparing a PSUR is that if we can group several medical devices in the same PSUR. So this depends on how it has been considered in the clinical evaluation and in the technical documentation. By default, just one PSUR is expected per medical devices. But of course, we can group medical devices. If we group medical devices in the same PSUR, we need to include a justification and also assign a lead device. This lead device is the device with the highest risk class or one of the highest risk classes. So I want to give you some tips for grouping, from practical tips for grouping medical devices in a PSUR. Tips related to the justification. Well, the justification could be based on the benefits to report multiple devices in one PSUR, or alternatively, the disadvantages to report each device in separate PSURs. Also, in case the group of devices changes, it's important for you to know that a justification for the change should also be provided. And as I said before, the manufacturers should define the leading device according to which the PSUR schedule is determined. I want to give you also some tips related to the data presented. On one hand, the data should be presented in a clear, organized manner so that it is easy to determine how each device performs independently. But it's not only important to analyze each medical device independently, we also have to do it in a global manner as a whole system. Other challenge when writing a PSUR is the trend analysis. Here I want also to show you some tips for the trend analysis. Well, it's important to have in mind, to take into account that for the calculation of trends, there are different possible approaches. We have basic trend parameters that are usually used for low volume of incidents, and we have also valid statistical methods for high volumes of incidents. While it's important to take into account that while for many manufacturers the use of simple graphs and charts will be sufficient, the implementation of more sophisticated methods will be advisable for others. So this again depends on the safety profile of the medical device. Then the method chosen for the calculation of the trends should be justified based on different things, based on the device risk class, the number of products delivered, number of incidents, and if we have single or multiple devices. Here, I want to show you what is included in a PSUR. I'm not going to go through all of this because you already know this, but it's, as you can see, as I said before, this is a summary of all the results from the post-marketing surveillance data that we have been collected. But which are the common non-conformities found in a PSUR, the common error that we found here? First of all, we have seen that the PSUR, sometimes the PSUR does not contain sufficient detail to allow for independent assessment and conclusion. And it only points to other detailed documentation such as vigilance report, PMCF, or evaluation reports. Also, sometimes this is important, sometimes one PSUR for its intended purpose of medical device is sometimes required. Also, we have seen that the aim of the PSUR is not duplicate, the objective is to summarize the results and the conclusions generated during the PMS plan. It's not a duplicate. And finally, we think that it's very useful to use a PSUR template because the same structure must be followed for drafting all the PSUR regarding the device class. So with this last non-conformity associated to a PSUR, we finished this webinar. I hope you enjoy it. And for sure, if you have any question, write us an email and we are happy to help you and answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Excellent presentation, Laura. Thank you so much. And thank you to all the attendees. We hope you enjoy it. We'll send the presentation shortly. And as Laura said, remember that you can send your questions anytime at info@asphalion.com. Have a nice afternoon ahead. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.